Welcome to part 2 of working with the updated RV7000 in Reason 8.3. In this video, we're going to just take a closer look at some of the parameters and settings that are available in the updated version of the RV7000. I've got a little audio sample that I've imported into Reason, some little trumpet harmonies that I recorded a while ago. I'm not a professional, so don't judge too harshly here. I'm just trying to get some non-copyrighted material. So let's F6 and bring up the rack. Here we've got our audio track device for that audio sample I brought in. I'll show the insert effects here so we can bring the RV7000 in. And typically you'd want to use reverb as a send effect, but you can use it as an insert and just use the dry wet mix here to control your levels. So just quickly going over the front panel here, you've got your bypass on and off. Your bypass will just let the audio signal go straight through without being affected. On is obvious and off is obvious, turns off the device. Then you've got your browse area here, accessing your remote programmer, the down arrow, and this enables the EQ, which we're going to be going over, and the gate. Then you have decay. This changes the length of the reverb, or if you're using an echo algorithm, it affects the feedback. Now the high frequency damp, this changes how quickly the high frequencies will decay in the reverb. So raising it removes higher frequencies, creating a warmer, less bright sound. And the high EQ, this is a high shelving EQ that works similar to a treble control on, say, a mixer or like a stereo amplifier. For a softer reverb, you would want to lower the setting, and raising it increases the high frequencies. And we just mentioned the dry wet blend. This is going to kind of vary how much of the dry signal is being affected by the RV7000. So if we expand the remote programmer here, you have controls here. This is the edit mode toggle button. So here you can choose what will be displayed to your right here. And you're going to have different parameters available to you with these dials depending on which mode you're in. If you're going to work with the EQ or gate, you just want to be sure that you then enable them up on the main control panel here. There are 8 different dials on either side of the display, and the controls that they adjust, or the parameters that they adjust, are going to vary depending on which mode you are in. Some of them just won't do anything at all depending on where you are. So let's start with the reverb here. You've got 10 different algorithms to choose from here with this first dial. You have small, space, room, hall, arena, plate, spring, echo, multi-tap, reverse, and convolution, which is new to the RV7000 in Reason Update 8.3. So you just click and hold to move through these. And just take note that the parameters that you can adjust with the dials will change depending on which algorithm you're using. The convolution, the next knob down for this one in particular, the RV7000 does come with 3 built-in presets, and there are also impulse responses that you can download from Reason's website. We touched on that on part 1, so I won't go into detail on that, but just know there are 3 included with the 8.3 update, but then you can go ahead and download. There's a ton of different impulse responses for free in their shop area. You also have the capability of sampling your own impulse response. So if you say just were to even clap your hands in the room that you're in, having a microphone set up, being sure that your sampling input is set correctly, you just click the sample button here. It works the same as in the Kong or Red Drum, and stop whenever you're finished. There is a 12-second limitation to samples that you can load into the Convolution Reverb. Anything longer than that will be truncated. Alternatively, you can click and hold, and whenever you've finished, just let go. Of course, you can't clap your hands if you're using that way. And so we'll just turn this back to preset 1. Now the EQ section here, this essentially shapes the character of the reverb. And again, you just want to be sure that if you are going to make adjustments in this area, that you enable the EQ. And with the gate, you can create gated reverb effects. And the gate can also be triggered by MIDI or CV, or you can just use the source audio signal. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the parameters. I'm not going to describe each and every one. If you really want to know in depth what they're for, the details of each dial, each control, I'd recommend just reading the manual. We'd be here for several hours going over each one. So what I will do is just play back this audio that I brought in and then do a little bit of tweaking, go through some of these, just play around for a bit, and then you can get an idea of what's going on. Where I think it's important, I'll then mention a few things. But I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly just to give you a better idea of the controls for the reverb, the EQ, and the gate, and how to use them. So I will minimize the browser by hitting F3. I'm going to start the sample, and we've got this bypassed. So I can't remember where I recorded this at. There's already a touch of reverb, it seems, on this, but it's pretty dry for the most part, at least for what we're going to be doing. I'm going to really crank up the reverb. Okay, so now we've got an idea of how our original audio sounds. I'm going to go ahead and just go all the way back up to the very first algorithm, which is small space, and let's then turn our reverb on. So with the small space, you've got a size setting. As you adjust the parameters, you'll note that the display area will reflect the changes. You've got a room shape. Wall irregular setting and pre-delay. We'll move to room. You've also got size here, room shape, early reflections. So you've still got the same settings for Hall. With this one you have right delay, stereo level, so you get an idea here how the parameters will change. Some of them are the same. Here we've got an echo time. Now the decay adjusts the echo time when you're using the decay up here. That's kind of cool. Okay. Reverse. And the RV7000 actually resamples the audio signal going in and reverses it with this particular algorithm. And finally, we've got Convolution. Okay, let's see. So let's take a look at the EQ next then. But before we move on, one thing I'd like to mention is that when you're working with a convolution, you can, if you'd like to experiment with some weird stuff, you can say go to the factory sounds and what am I looking for? Other samples, chords, phrases, pads and stabs. So let's just try this and see what happens when we load this into the convolution algorithm. So with that browse sample selected and highlighted, I'm just going to double click on that. You can see our sample then changed to air bobbles. So now the convolution engine is going to use that audio file to process our trumpet sounds. So let's see what that sounds like. There's not much difference there. Let's try something. Definitely not that one. Yeah. Okay, now you see we've changed to Carl's mood. Let's try that. Okay. Well, nothing really too exciting, but you get an idea. You can bring in different sounds and see what happens and just experiment with that. So I'm going to change our algorithm back to, let's say, arena here. Let's take some of that decay down. And we'll move to EQ. Now, if you're going to work with the EQ parameters, just be sure that you enable up here. And we'll start our track back. So here you've got low gain. And then you can adjust the frequency for the low gain there. The range. So you can cut or add 18 dB. And then you've got a parameter gain here, for which you can raise to 18 or cut 18 as well. I'll raise and sweep through this to give you an idea. That's pretty cool. So you can adjust the Q here. And keep in mind that, you know, when you're adjusting these parameters, if you find something cool, like when I'm sweeping through here, you can always automate the parameters within the RV7000. So I'll just click, I'm going to minimize the browser, F3. So I'll just go to the beginning of the track and hit record. And I'm going to sweep through this frequency here and record that as automation. I think I'm gonna hit F7 and bring up the sequencer. Yeah, I'm recording over the audio there. So let me Control Z, get that back. F6 for the rack, and we want to make sure that here, this is also a new feature in 8.3, you can be sure that MIDI is directed towards the RV7000. You want to have that triangle there. I forgot about that. So let's try this again. I'll go back to the beginning of my track, and let's hit record. Okay, we'll go back to the beginning, and now we've got our green border indicating that we have live automation. Okay, yeah, just something to experiment with. And let's move on to gate. I'm going to disable the EQ, enable the gate, and let's select that here. You can click on the LED or toggle with the button. So with the gate, you can create gated reverb effects, and the gate can be triggered by MIDI, CV, or the source audio signal. So if you use the source audio, the gate will open whenever that audio reaches a certain level. So whenever the gate is closed, you won't hear the reverb. So right now, our threshold is set to minus 18 dB. This arrow is going to give you a visual indicator of where it is for this meter here. So you're going to see the dry signal going in this bar. And this is set pretty low, so pretty much anything that comes through is going to activate the gate and open it, and we're going to have reverb. But we're going to go through this and adjust some of the parameters so you can see exactly what's going on. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the track, start here. So you see we still have our reverb. I'm going to raise the threshold, and if you note, the arrow is going to move up. You see the signal is not hitting the threshold, so we don't have any reverb. So this is essentially what the gate is. Now you can control what frequencies are going to actually trigger the gate. So there's the high pass here. If I were to, let's lower the threshold, take that down where it's going to be triggered pretty much by anything that's going through. If I raise the high pass filter to frequencies that are above what the trumpet is, then the reverb will not be activated. I'll lower that down. So I'll raise the high pass. See if I lower this down. And then we get to the area where the frequencies of the trumpet are, then we have a much stronger, then the reverb is going to come through. Okay, and then the trigger source is where you're going to choose whether you're using source audio, MIDI, or the MIDI CV. So if I bring up the on-screen piano keys, I will, and we play back. then I will just hit the A key, and our reverb is then triggered. So that's a pretty cool feature. And with the CV, just if you hit tab and we'll switch the rack around, then this is where you would route the gate trig in, and then that would then activate the gate through some external device, whichever one you choose. And so with attack, this is just how long it takes for the gate to open up to allow the reverb to happen. The hold is for how long the gate stays open. Release is how long it takes for the gate to close after the hold setting. And so I think we will stop here. This has been pretty fun. I love reverb a lot, and I do really like the new Convolution reverb. I didn't go through any of the patches that I downloaded from the shop. My computer is pretty slow, so a lot of times when I use those along with the screen capture program, Reason just will stop playing and say that the computer's too slow. So I didn't want to embarrass myself with that, so I just stuck with the 4 presets that came with the RV7000 in the 8.3 update. So hope you enjoyed and picked up some tips, and I'll see you in the next video.